Okay, where'd you go?
Hello, Judy.
I can't now. I don't know where you went. Let me see. I can't see anybody. What did I do?
We're here.
I saw you for a minute. I really don't. Wait a minute. Maybe this.
You need
I don't know.
hit your screen configuration. Switch to gallery view. Do you see that?
No, see, I don't see anything. I don't have my, I may go out and come back in again.
Okay.
Let me try that. Okay, I'll be back.
All right.
Now I can't leave. What did I do? Okay, let me do this. Join. Okay. I'm back. Sometimes I think I know what I'm doing and I did it again. What did I do? This is bizarre. And I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, we can see you.
You can.
So that's working. So I think you turned off your camera. Maybe. No, if your camera was off, we couldn't see you. So never mind.
Yeah.
Go around the
Okay.
edges and
No, I got it. I went back to Google Calendar and I went in again.
okay.
I don't know. I truly don't know what I did, but I've done it before. So how are you?
Good, thank you.
Oh, that's good. Katie was telling me, I guess you met with her about her budget.
Not yet.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I called her on some other things.
Oh, okay.
But we have a schedule. I think it's next week.
Okay.
I think it's on a Thursday.
Okay. She got some good ideas.
Good.
She's putting her best. I think she's doing fine.
Good.
I just think it's tough to start a new program like that.
In the middle of a pandemic?
In the middle of a pandemic, if you could meet with people, it would be different.
I would agree.
It's just hard, but I think she's doing a good job.
Good.
She asks good questions. That's what I like. She asks very good questions. But anyways, I know the cases I saw today, 180, I think.
Yeah, we keep going up.
It keeps going up. In that the pizza place, Tony's Pizza in Willimantic?
Yes.
The guys that owned it died from COVID. Him and his nephew. Tony is the owner and Sammy is the nephew. And they all ran. It was a family run thing. They've been open, God, since the 70s.
So they lost the
Sammy died and Tony died. I don't know how old he was. He wasn't super young, but I suspect in his 70s, maybe. I don't know how old he was.
Wow.
But they've been around forever. So anyways, it's all this COVID stuff, man. And then all the other stuff going on. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, stranger than me.
How are you?
Busy times.
Yes. Definitely. I like your background.
It's the corner. It's my mother's statue and one of her plants. There you go.
I have an African violet that I keep trying, that was my mother's, and she died in 93. And I'm trying to keep, and so I keep taking cuttings and rooting it again. I got a bunch of them, but
That's awesome.
They were my mother's African violets.
That's neat. Well, the one on the left, the philodendron is my mom's, or on the right, look, whatever. That one. And it's funny, it was humongous. And I brought it here and it must have caught a chill and it died back almost to nothing. And
Oh,
it started growing again. So she died, what, 4 years ago, so.
no, this African violet was one plant and I've made probably 4 or 5, then I give them to people.
Oh, I have plants. I have plants that I've had since I was a teenager.
Yeah,
This one is a baby of one I had from a teenager, the spider plant.
wow. It is
So-
funny. But
Well,
if you'd want an African violet, I would root it for you.
I kill African violets. My mother always did them and I always kill them.
My mother loved them because they blossom. She liked things that would
Oh, yeah.
blossom.
My mom would buy them all the time and she wouldn't keep them alive for long. But summertime, they'd always end up dying.
Yeah,
She'd
my
have 'em all
mother,
winter.
somehow she kept them alive. She didn't have any other plants, but she knew how to take care of the African violets.
I have tons of other plants. I need no more.
Jen hasn't blamed me, but she went on vacation and an orchid died. So
Oh,
How did you kill an orchid?
I don't know.
Did you
I'm a
over-
terrible plant waterer.
You overwatered it.
Probably. I probably tried to help and drowned
Yeah.
everything.
Eh.
It's always sad when she comes back and everything's wilted and
Oh,
dead.
And
wilting they wilt from overwatering as much as underwatering, just
Oh,
so you know.
geez. Oh, I think that's what happened.
How long was she gone?
2 weeks.
You'd only have had to water it once.
Well, and I think I walked in this morning and she was watering. I said, "Don't, I just watered a lot last night." She said, "Uh-oh." So we double watered,
Oh, goodness.
but it is dry in the office. So who knows?
Yeah,
Or maybe not getting enough sun.
Oh,
they
like
don't
no
need sun.
No?
No,
I
very
can't keep
little.
African violets alive. Not African violets, the orchids, I can't keep them alive.
I have my mother's orchid and my daughter's 2 orchids from when she got married in 2013, and they bloom every year.
Mine
They're
don't,
awesome.
they die. I can't keep those alive. I have some plants I do well with. I don't do well with those.
I must have the perfect spot. And I throw them outside for the summer, and they really
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But they don't like sun at all. Some light.
I know, I put a lot of plants outside. African violets you can't put outside in the summer. Don't think they like that much sun.
Gotcha. Well, if I ever decide I'm going to try one, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I put them in, I root them. It takes about a month to get them to root.
Uh-huh.
And then I put them in dirt and then they do well.
That's awesome. They're pretty.
They're pretty, they're fun. But
Hello, Rich.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
hi, Paul.
Hey.
Here's our leader.
Where'd he go? There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Mr. Nassif.
Hello, Rich.
How are you?
Yeah. Good evening. Hi, Mark. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Rich.
Hi.
Who else is here? Paul?
Hey.
Rich?
So,
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. And Linda and Ann are muted.
Hi, Rick.
Now Linda's, hi, Linda. How are you?
Hi,
I'm
Linda.
good. Hi.
Bottom.
Yo.
Hello, Art.
Hello.
All right.
Sorry if I was a little
You're not late. You're right on time. It's 6:59. You're fine.
All right.
Everybody else is just a little early.
Yeah, we never start early.
So even if you're a couple of minutes late, it's not a big deal.
Linda will catch you if you are.
So I trust everybody got the minutes and the agenda and so on.
Yes.
Oh, I get the agenda for my printer. Bear with me. Thank you. Why don't we get started, everybody?
Okay,
I won't go through the rules for virtual meetings or anything like that. You know, I think we all understand. Just be patient and give one person a chance to talk at one time. We've been really good about that to that point, so I almost feel foolish saying it, but thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. The agenda, do we need to approve the agenda at this point, Mark?
I would.
Okay, so I'd make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
I second it.
Judy, second. Any discussion of that? All those in favor, raise your hand, members. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. The minutes of December 22nd, 2020. I read through them. I think they're an accurate representation. Thank you, Linda. I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented. Any corrections?
No,
Second?
Well done.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, that was Lisa, I think. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Believe you were all here for that meeting. Perfect, thank you. Well, that's approved unanimously. Audience of citizens, anything that anyone would like to bring up that isn't already on the agenda or a citizen can bring up? I'll assume the one citizen, if you unmute that you want to say something. If not, you're listening. Hi, Ann.
I'm listening. I do not have anything to say.
Okay, thank you.
I couldn't hear that.
And she's just listening is what she said.
Okay.
Thank you, Art. Okay, I'm going to move on to old business, which is all that we have for this evening, other than the few other agenda items to get through after this. So we've agreed to go through the charter section by section. We did have a lengthy conversation last meeting about possibly changing the format for town meetings or referendums. Let's not go through that now. I'd like to just keep talking through, just consider the procedure that we're going to likely follow through this. We'd like to get through the whole charter, having discussed it all and reviewing comments. And I'd like to review the comments in section 1 on the charter and make sure that there's nothing that we want to discuss there, and then move on to each section with any specific comments. I haven't sent my comments into Jen yet. You know, and I won't bring them up. I'll wait till I've submitted them and they can come up as a normal course of discussion. So I don't want to bring up anything that is my perspective. Anything that anyone else would like to bring up, please bring it up. The worst things are the things that are unsaid. So please don't hesitate to bring it up. With that said, I'm going to the documents that were emailed out to us. We had a large 50-odd page document that was a lot of documents in one. But if you go to the prior email to that and take a look at the charter as it was revised in the format of a Word document, it would be the one that is recommended changes as of, or is it PDF? There's a list of recommended changes. It's a PDF listed. And I was going through the Word document that was sent to us. And I'm looking at that right now. And that's the one that has the notations as recommended by members as of 12/22, listed under each of the major sections of the charter. And those, I believe, are printed in blue.
Right.
So I'm looking at, we've already referenced on page 2 of the charter that that we would need some items updated to reflect a more current state of statutes. And to that end, we've had some input from council, from Rich. Thank you, Rich.
Sure.
Going through the next one about legislative power, Article 2, are you all agreed that we don't need to review anything for Article 1? Anything anyone wants to bring up there?
I want to raise that some of the definitions will likely have to be adjusted or changed based on what we do elsewhere. For example, J on Article 1 says the town meeting is a legislative body. If we do anything, which I'm recommending, to specifically note that the legislative power is shared between the town meeting and the Board of Selectmen, we will want to be revising that definition just a little bit.
Well, point well made. Thank you. Okay.
Rick, this is Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Actually, this is for Mark. Mark, is there any way that you can share that document on the screen?
Oh, as we go along?
Yeah, because it's really hard. I don't think I have that document, and it's really hard for me to figure out what you guys are talking about.
So at the moment, let me think how I could do that. That might be beyond my skill set.
At the bottom, at the bottom, there's a share screen.
I know, and here's the problem. I have an Apple.
Oh,
Hold on, let me just look.
is there any way that you can make Rick co-host and he can share it?
Well, the problem is that I'm on this Zoom meeting on my iPad.
Okay.
And I have all the documents on my large monitor. And so I'm not Zooming from my computer, but from a separate device.
Right,
So
that's what I have.
Yeah, I have it on my Kindle.
I have the documents printed out, and I can also print it.
Is there anybody on a regular computer?
I'm on a regular computer.
You know, I might be able to connect to the Zoom meeting from my desktop and then share it from my desktop if that's
I just thought it would be easier for everybody to follow along if there was something everybody was looking.
a good suggestion. Thank you.
It probably would be.
And I get what you're saying, Linda, and we could do that for sure, because I could bring up the PDF and then scroll as we go.
Yes, just scroll as you go along.
So keep the meeting going, and I'll work on that.
Okay.
I'm poking around. The iPads are nowhere near as easy as a PC to navigate.
So I've just joined the meeting. I've tried to join the meeting. I have to be let in by the host because I'm a
Hold on.
guest.
Yep, I'm letting you in.
Okay. Okay, so I have a,
share screen. I found share screen.
so do you want me to share from my computer?
Yeah.
If you can, Rick, go for it.
I believe I can.
I'm learning right now. Microsoft SharePoint. Oh man.
Okay, I think I'm sharing. Yeah, I'm sharing
Yeah,
it right
you
now.
are.
All right, yeah.
Oh, well done.
Very good. I'm impressed.
Okay, so I'm at the end of section 1 here.
Right.
I'll just scroll it so you can see where. So we're on Article 1. I'm sorry, not section 1. And those were just the comments about. I imagine this would need to be updated to a more current date of the statutes. So the additional comment, Henry, that you made is very helpful. That said, I'm going to scroll on to Article 2, and I'm going to go to the end of this section where all of the comments that we had received to this point are there. And I could also share another document, a different document. Let's look at the comments at the end of Article 2. Is holiday defined somewhere, or our holidays seem to be changing, at least in importance? Good observation. And then a reference to Article 2 town meeting, section 2.5. This is vague. Suggest a moderator can count ballots. I feel one person should never be in a position to count. I suggest verbiage that states moderator chooses 2 people to count while supervised by the moderator, or other such language will assure the security and accuracy of the count. So the MD, that is who, Mark DeRozier? Those are Mark's comments.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's what happens usually at the town meetings, but we should change the verbiage.
So let's take those comments as well taken and things that we need to refine further. Okay.
I've got some other comments to add to Article 2 before we move on.
Okay,
But just to finish up on these, the first one about holiday, it is defined in Article 1.
okay.
Holiday has the. See, I'm not sure we need to, I mean, holidays
what-
are holidays, you know, if they're important, I don't know.
Well, right now, holiday has the meaning ascribed to it in section 1-4 of the Connecticut General Statutes. So we refer to general statutes for a holiday definition.
Makes sense. Sounds right.
I mean,
But
and
let's-
the context is basically for setting the date of a referendum. It's not which holidays you want to celebrate or anything like that.
Right.
Okay, why don't we pass over that first comment for the moment, thinking that we may not need to do anything with that. We're going to review all of these again all at once. And one of the things that we're doing by going through here, Mark, I was going to ask, the additional comments from the other members of the commission don't appear to be in this version here, unless it's just in these cases. On Article 2, there was only one comment. I do have, I hesitate to go away from this document, but I also have here the PDF version of the charter. This might displace this document as the window, so to speak. I'm waiting to see if this changes. I'm looking now at the Excel spreadsheet chart of changes, because we have changes from a lot of members,
Right.
from Mark, from Paul Ramsey, from Kate, Paul Kabala sent some in from the public, but these were all as of 12/22. Do we have any more updated comments that have come in, Mark?
I don't, there was only one today.
And that's too late to get into this list.
Right, so we're not gonna worry about that one right now.
Okay, so I'm assuming all of the comments that were on this 12/22 PDF that's in the form of an Excel spreadsheet are in this Word document? Or
Yes.
should I not assume that?
That's my understanding.
So they're all
Okay.
in here. Okay.
So
Yeah,
let's
we don't-
keep, so we understand. Henry, were you going to bring us something else about this second point on
Yeah,
Article
yeah.
2?
Yeah, Article 2 will need to be adjusted to, if we agree with my premise that we need to be clearer about the shared legislative power between the town meeting and the town, because there are confusions between the interaction of Article 2 and Article 3 in that regard that would have to be addressed. Some appear in section 2.1 and in 2.2, and others appear in section 2.4 when it says when the town meeting is required, and it talks about some of the legislative powers of the Board of Selectmen there. So I think we need to just have a general discussion as to what the shared legislative power should look like, and then let the wording go, let somebody develop the wording rather than debate what needs to be changed in the abstract. We need to deal with the concept first.
Okay, let's have that discussion now if everyone's comfortable with it. It's something we're going to have to talk about at some point. We might as well.
Well-
Any thoughts on how that structure would unfold from any of the members I'm asking?
Henry, could you explain what you mean? Because you want to change who has the
Well,
power? I just don't know what you mean.
I don't want to change anything. It already exists. It may be what we should do is review the comments to Article 3, because it's actually taking 2 or 3 together. But let me also point out that attention should be given specifically to
Henry, you have to talk into your mic.
Okay, should specifically given to 2.4D, the acquisition of real estate for town purposes, as requiring to go to a town meeting. because we've had some entanglements with that before. And I think what we need to do is be more specific about where we say including but not limited to, because we don't address in there the town acquiring rights of way, the town acquiring development rights, the town acquiring easements, doing things other than the only exclusion that is here right now is for conservation easements, et cetera, that are related to the zoning ordinance and subdivision. But there are any number of times which we've run into when the towns look to buy other real estate for open space or whatever, having restrictions or buying development rights, et cetera. And we've concluded that they have to go to a town meeting. The lawyers have concluded it, but it would be nice to just clean the language up to make that an easier conclusion.
Okay, so some specific recommendations that would make it more clear. And you said this is a combination of section 2 and section 3.
Well, this would be specifically 2.4D.
Yeah.
This deals with just when the town meeting has to vote for land acquisition. And we want to make it clear that a real estate acquisition includes things like buying development rights. Because, we're not really buying a deed or deeded land or anything like that, but it is an interest in real estate. And so I think when we talk about here, one of the biggest changes to make is just a simple one in D of saying the acquisition of an interest in real estate rather than saying the acquisition of real estate.
How about the acquisition of real estate or an interest in real estate?
Either way,
They're
either
two
way.
separate
Yeah,
things.
I like
Yeah.
that better.
So why don't we put / or an interest in after, or just put in not a / but or an interest
In real estate.
And then in the including but not limited to litany, talk about easements, rights of way, development rights. Just add them to that list of including but not limited to.
So we would just be adding development rights in there because we have easements in there already.
No, we don't. We have easements in there from excluding conservation easements that come under zoning, but we're not going to exclude an easement if we're buying it from a farmer.
Why do we have to be specific about easements? Why don't we get rid of the word drainage and access and just reference easements in general instead of getting.
Because there are two concepts that are being dealt with in this section. The first one, everything before the but is what has to go to the town meeting. Everything after the but is what doesn't have to go to the town meeting. And everything that's listed there are all of the various things that happen in zoning. Okay, and what we're basically saying, if it's something that's ministerial in zoning, it doesn't have to go to the town meeting.
Okay.
But there can be, access easements to the lake, for example, or rec park or something else where we're actually going to end up buying a right of way or.
So let's get a list of those together right now. So I'm jotting them down so I can get them to Mark and to Linda. So including easements. So we want to separate from, you bring up a very valid point, separate from zoning functions, the town directly acquiring easements, access easements, rights of way.
If you take the language here and after the word gift, you take out the or and put a comma in and add after the word bequest, add easements, rights of way, and development rights. And then
easements.
that's fine. Easements. Yeah.
And easements.
Well, I think,
Linda, do you have that, all that recorded in a way that we don't need to make notes and more? I have some general notes, but Linda, do you have all that?
I'm recording the meeting here, so I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you could formulate that list of specific
I
requests.
put it in, yep, I'll put it in the minute.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Take that off of
and-
me.
and then it would just continue with what's being excluded.
Okay. Thank you, Henry.
yeah, I guess I would have two things to say on that. One is, if you're going to be listing things like rights of way and easements, I would put that before for town purposes where you've added the or interests in land, because the including but not limited to language that's in here is more related to the method by which the interest in land is being acquired rather than the nature of them. So,
Very good point.
and I guess the second thing I would say is that in addition to zoning, you want to add subdivision because, you know, if it's open space as part of a subdivision, that's technically not a zoning ordinance.
Because that's a planning function.
Correct.
Right. So, yes, and so in the last line, it would say pursuant to the zoning or subdivision ordinances of the town. Is that a good way to say it, Rich?
You know, or regulations, because that's
Yeah, okay.
generally what they are.
Pursuant. Good. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom of section 2. Any comments from the commission on that? Any other perspectives on that? Or are we good to move past this item?
I just have one more if I could.
Sure.
Under section 2.6B, there's some garbled language that just needs to be cleared up. And if you leave it to Rich and I, we'll take care of it when we get down to the drafting.
Okay, and that was section what?
2.6B.
B. Shall
B is
determine
four.
whether subdivision-
Within 20 days after the publication of any such ordinance. Okay, what's your concern there, just so we know, Henry?
Well, it just, where it says the town clerk determines that the.
Yeah, you have to talk into the microphone. We can't hear you when you're
It's just, there seems to be some words left out when it says the town clerk determines that the proper number of valid signatures has not been obtained. The town clerk shall also certify to the Board of Selectmen, and any applicable ordinance shall become effective after it is republished by the Board of Selectmen. There seems to be something missing
Okay.
in
We'll
that language.
leave it to you and Rich to craft that.
Yeah.
Is everyone good with that?
It may be that a line was dropped in the printing or something. That's why I wanted to get it out.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move past that. Anything else in section 2 right now? Don't take my zeal for moving things along as an intent to ever gloss over anything, because when we need to talk about it, we can talk it to death. But I like to keep things moving as a general principle when we have meetings like this. Okay, so section 2 we're good on for the time being. So I'm going to scroll through section 3. And I can, if anyone wants me to scroll back, please let me know that. I'm going to scroll to the end of this section so that we can see the comments. Tell me if I'm going too fast. This is more, so here is the only comment here was again from Mark, was about general powers and duties. And Mark said he suspected that this list might need to be updated, referring to section 3.3, and I'll go back to that.
I would like to talk about 3.3 because that's where we've got the shared legislative power.
Okay.
Okay. And if you look at 3.3, 3.3A1 says to enact, amend, and repeal ordinances or amendments adopted under this section. So this allows the selectmen to take legislative action to do ordinances, et cetera, if they're authorized by this section. So then, what are those possibilities? Well, one is to create or abolish agencies or commissions under section 2. Under 3, that's an agreement, so that's really not ordinances. In 4, it talks about how an ordinance has to be published if it's adopted. 5 says by resolution regulate the internal procedure of agencies. Well, that's not by ordinance either. And then 6 says to fix the charges, if any, to be made for services rendered by the town. That has been done by ordinance. Um, Bonding is not ordinance. Then we get to B, um, uh, which talks about bidding procedure and personnel policies and so forth. And the main additional place where there is legislative power is in B, which says the Board of Selectmen. No, that's not it. It's, where is it? There's emergency ordinances in section 3.6. And I thought there was something place in here, and I'm not finding it to do anything else that's in the uh, public interest of the town. And I'm missing where that is.
Okay.
Oh, it's number 4. It's 3.3 B4. The Board of Selectmen shall maintain a constant concern for the general good and welfare of the community.
Or,
And so that has also been used to support ordinances. And so we just need to acknowledge that I'm not looking to increase the power of the board to adopt ordinances. We may wish to do that at some time when we want to go to a stronger town council type orientation versus town meeting. But what I think we need to do now is to blend better the fact that the town meeting is talked about as being the legislative body as opposed to a co-legislative body. There's all sorts of sections in this section 3.3 about how the town residents can take the authority away from the board on a particular issue and take it to town meeting and so forth. So the ability of the town meeting to stop the board from overstepping on a particular issue is very well outlined and dealt with. And so I think we can run with all of that workings, but the problem is more semantic in that Article 2 says that the town meeting is the legislative body. But then when we get to Article 3, we give legislative powers to the Board of Selectmen. So the town meeting isn't the exclusive legislative body, and it would be just wise to smooth that out and say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2.1 is interesting because it basically says that the legislative bodies, to the extent specified in Article 2, shall be vested in the town meeting. I think where the real kind of disconnect is in J, in the definitions, where it basically says that it is the legislative body of the town. What I think I can do is take a look, because I know at least one of the other towns that I've worked on their charter has a similar kind of shared legislative power between the town meeting and the Board of Selectmen. And I can take a look to see how it is basically described and laid out there, so that it can be clarified here. If I understand Henry correctly, he doesn't want to change it. He just wants to make it accurate as far as what is the legislative body for which purposes.
So Rich, you're gonna come up with a suggestion based on,
Yep.
okay,
This is really legal wordsmithing, and to make it easier to reach a conclusion that the Board of Selectmen can pass a particular ordinance or not. And it also is helpful in some cases when you're looking to qualify, or excuse me, you're looking to take action under some state statute that says the legislative body of a town can do this or that. We may want to have a provision in here to say that when a state statute says the legislative body may do it, it only means the town meeting, or it means either. I don't know. I would leave that to Rich for guidance, but I do think we want to address that issue too.
Yep.
agreed. Points well taken.
I do have a question. So when we're discussing the legislative body, are we going to be staying with it's a shared thing? What's the spirit that we're looking at?
Well, my recommendation would be that it continue to be a shared thing because the shared power has worked pretty well.
I agree.
All I'm wanting to do is to clean up the language a bit to make it clearer so that there's no argument about it at any point in time.
Okay.
Okay, well taken.
Rick, I have one thing on this
Yes.
section.
I think I know what it is. It's B1, $15,000.
Right, so what I'd like to reference, we have a, can anybody see this? Wait, where'd I go? I hit my video instead of my mute. We have a bid and procurement policy that the Board of Selectmen create. And I'm gonna be bringing this up to the board for review. But I cringe when I see dollar amounts in a charter that is gonna sit for 10 years. What I'd rather reference is the Board of Selectmen bid and purchase policy that is modified by the board as needed. And we might want to increase some of those dollar amounts because a formal bid process is a long, involved project where it might not be needed. You might be able to get 3 written quotes fine and not have to go to a formal public bid.
So Mark, is what you're suggesting that we don't reference a specific dollar amount, but
Right,
maybe
and I'd rather
need
reference
authority to the Board of Selectmen
yes,
for
or reference the
establishing
bid
a
purchase
procedure.
policy, and we can talk about that more.
That would be a change in policy though, because that would be taking it away from the town and giving the authority to the board. If we wanted to keep it in the town and we don't want to have it be a dollar number, it would be saying any item exceeding a certain percentage of the budget or something like that, so that it would vary from year to year. If we do it according to the bid procedure that the selectmen draft, then we've increased the power of selectmen. I don't have any problem with doing that. I'm just pointing out that that would be what would be happening, and so we should consider that.
And
Well,
I'm not speaking for the Board of Selectmen. I'm just throwing a bookmark there of something I will be bringing to the Board of Selectmen for their thoughts.
Just to, by way of example, and let me use a zoning reference here. So we have a nutrient allocation table. And in the past, as part of our zoning regulations, we kind of set in stone that those nutrient allocation values and the structure of it were rigidly defined by a legislative action of the zoning commission. And what we've done is we've made it an administrative document, and we've let our very competent building staff modify it as needed. And they've actually made the document easier to use and more simple over time. And as science has changed, they've been able to update the nutrient allocation values for various things done in the watershed. So it's a similar concept here I think that I forgot who brought it up, but is a specific dollar amount a good thing to have in the charter when that number is going to probably just go up and up and up over time. And will probably have the charter continually lag behind what the financial reality is. And I'm fully comfortable with the Board of Selectmen controlling the dollar amount and the bid process. I look at that as something that should be a more fluid value. I'd love to hear what other people feel about it.
I mean, it does, the chart is good for 10 years. And, you know, when you do have a dollar amount, it is going to change. It should change sometime in those 10 years.
So the question that Henry brought up is, this is basically ceding power from the charter to the Board of Selectmen. I'm fine with that. I'm very comfortable with that. I just want to know how everyone else on the commission feels about it. And if we're of a consensus that we're all in agreement that that's a reasonable way to go, let's do it and then move on to the next item.
I would suggest putting an upper limit on it so that, you know, it could do away with competitive bidding altogether if that number is too high. So I would put, you know, some higher limit on it, or something like, if with respect to an agency, if the amount of the bid is equal to, again, a certain percent of their annual budget, they have to take it to a bid.
So you'd like to, Henry, you'd like to see a specific value. I'm more comfortable with no specific value in ceding that to the Board of Selectmen. I'd love to just hear what each of the other members that are in on this feel about that. That Henry and I have two different views on it, but what's more important is what everybody feels. And if
I would hate to not have a bidding process. If it's going to take away the bidding process, I don't think it would be good. But I think if you go to the Board of Selectmen, doesn't mean it would take it away.
Correct.
I just think that's important. You know, you kind of get friendly with people, and you could choose somebody that, and we should be getting at least 3 bids on different things as we.
Well, you know, I don't
Well,
think, anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa, you were going to say?
So, you know, there's formal bid procedures, and then there's quotes and
Right.
getting through, you know, so I can see you know, there are typically vendors who do work in the town. You get 3 quotes, you work with that, they know the town. I would say, and I could be comfortable doing a formal bid procedure with large expense, like maybe over $50,000. And I think 50 would probably hold for 10 years. So, you know, you can do quotes, or they could, you know, you could say quote or bid, depending on what they feel, what the Board of Selectmen needed to do. But I could see putting an upper limit on it, but still requiring 3 quotes instead of the whole formal bid procedure where you go and put it in the paper and all that. Because that's expensive and tedious.
Yeah, Mark,
Okay.
but Mark brought this up. What are your thoughts on this, Mark?
Well, if the bid purchase policy has limits for anything between right now, between 1,000 and 10,000 is 2 verbal quotes. Anything between 10,000 and 15,000 is 3 written quotes. And anything over 15,000 is sealed bids. And I would agree with Lisa, the 15,000, I mean, we hit 15,000 all the time. That's not a big number anymore. And to require sealed bids that require publishing the bids and waiting 3 weeks for them to come in and having a formal bid opening, that delays purchasing up to a month, when you might have your 3 normal bidders that are always duking it out and not needing sealed bids. That's my only point. Where the purchasing policy, the Board of Selectmen could revise those dollar amounts, and you still have the same bid purchasing policy, but it's in the control of the Board of Selectmen, not in the charter. And to Henry's point and Lisa's point, you could put an upper limit that anything over 15,000 has to be a sealed bid. I'm fine with that too, because 50,000 is a big number, and it's going to be a big number for 10 years.
I don't have any problem with having it be pursuant to a policy, but we ought to say pursuant to a policy that provides for, two quotes at certain levels, 3 quotes at another, or whatever. It just describes a little bit what has to be in the policy, and say that the board amends it from time to time, so that the charter gives some kind of guidance to what has to be done, as opposed to just letting it be carte blanche. It's whatever the selectmen say from time to time. That's
Well,
only, that's my point.
I don't think what the selectmen say from time to time is characterized by carte blanche, because they're a legislative body, and they have their own controls with representation and members that we've elected. You know, I'm very comfortable with ceding control of this. I would be more in favor of an upper limit, and I don't mean to overtalk if any other members want to weigh in on this. I'd like to get everybody to say something about it, but an upper limit threshold of 50,000 and leaving it the way it is, and then add some reference to a purchasing policy by the Board of Selectmen, I'm fine, because I don't think it's a good idea to put minutia in the charter if it's better addressed by an administrative document that can be more actively modified by a more regularly meeting body, the Board of Selectmen. But that's my perspective. I'm sorry, Art, were you going to say anything about this?
No.
No. Any other thoughts from anyone else?
Yeah, I want to come back and say that the check and balance here is the fact that if the selectmen had to do this by ordinance, there are all sorts of provisions in here saying how the town, any townsperson or group of town people that have a concern about it would have an opportunity to take some kind of action. If we just willy-nilly give them the right to create some kind of policy or procedure that otherwise isn't governed, it's not an ordinance, so that they, or whatever, it doesn't have the ability to be reviewed, criticized, or re-examined by a town meeting. And so that's all I'm trying to do, is to have it fit into the structure, so that somebody comes along and says, I don't like that policy, what can I do about it? And it's unclear what they could do about it.
Okay, I think I have a different view than you, Henry, on this. I respect your view very much, but I'm comfortable with an upper threshold limit in the charter, as we've discussed, and ceding most of the authority to the Board of Selectmen to administer this on an ongoing basis, based on not only differences in numbers, but differences in procedure. I mean, Mark, you know, I have to assume through the pandemic, there were times where you just had to get stuff in the door, and you could get a waiver from the Board of Selectmen rather easily to very specific policies if you had to jump on Amazon and get personal protective gear for the fire department or something like that.
Well, the other thing that's happening, it's as we do more and more online, I'm now about to be trained in, it's going to be 3 training sessions to the new state contracted bid portal, which might have to be modified in our bid and purchase policy, that bid portal counts as the best way to purchase certain products, because it's through a marketplace bid basket. So, you know, that this is changing more rapidly than our charter is ever going to change as to how to get the best bang for your buck for the town. And I just want that flexibility. That's all.
Okay. So my suggestion is we put a $50,000 limit in there, if everyone's in agreement with that number, but we leave the verbiage there, and we add in reference to
the bid and purchase policy of
the
Board of Selectmen.
the bid and purchase policy of the Board of Selectmen. I trust them, is what I'm trying to say. I trust the Board of Selectmen to be financially prudent and responsive to the public if somebody wants to go to a Board of Selectmen meeting and challenge something that's been done. I'm very comfortable with that. I think the charter should be more the broad strokes, and even having a number in there, I take a pause, but I understand that some control, that there should be a procedure. 10 years from now, they may look at it differently. You know what? if the charter needs to be modified in the interim, that could be another set of circumstances. Think about how much commerce has changed over the last 10 years. I mean, dramatically so. And to have a document that doesn't give room for that, our approach to commerce to change with the times is probably not an efficient way to use the charter, is my point that I make. So
I'm thinking 50,000 is kind of high if we're going to have a dollar amount in there. But so we don't have to do the formal bidding. I was thinking more like 30.
10 years from now.
I
that's
just
the
threw
value of
that.
car. Judy.
Yeah, it just seems high because I
agree.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
thinking more like 30.
how does everyone feel if we stick with the combination of verbiage of a dollar amount and then the Board of Selectmen policy being inserted in their purchasing policy? Let's talk in the context that may be okay for nearly everyone here. What number is good? I hear 30 put out there. Lisa, Judy?
I like 30. I just threw 50 out just for the sake of saying something big, but I'm more comfortable with 30 myself.
Yeah.
Paul?
Well, I don't know. Mark, what is Mark at? Mark, what do you think?
30 is fine. That's doubling what the charter says right now. So that's at least getting you to your bigger dollar purchases.
So 10 years from now, the number will be double what it was 10 years ago.
Right. It'll be 60.
Over 20
10
years,
from now.
we will have gone up from this number 15,000 to 30, and that's okay. I mean, if it gets to be cumbersome, it can be addressed. Arthur, your thoughts on it?
30's fine. I mean, the inflation rate's going up, so I mean, the number needs to go up. So yeah, I agree 30.
Henry, are you comfortable with if we go that way with 30?
I've said my piece. I'm happy with whatever the commission signs, so 30 sounds fine.
So, Linda, let's record that as our suggestion is that we modify it to $30,000 in section B1, and that we add in verbiage that references the Board of Selectmen purchasing policy. Is that the right term, Mark?
Bid and purchase policy.
Okay, so you'll make sure that reflects accurately what the current policy is.
I will.
So just one of my thoughts on that whole thing, you got to consider that vendors, it's a lot of work to do a sealed bid. And it has to be enough money for a vendor to actually go through the effort to do that. So that was another one of my reasonings for that.
Correct.
I think there are sound reasons. Okay, we're looking for active feedback, and we would love some active feedback from the Board of Selectmen, very specifically on this point about the $30,000 number.
And I'm going to bring it to the next board meeting and we'll discuss it. And I might be able to come back with even some better language towards these different purchasing consortiums that we join and how that would tie in. Because right now we can buy off the state bid list. It's already bid, and purchase a $80,000 truck. It's not a sealed bid. It's through a consortium bid purchase where the bidding's already been done and the prices are locked in.
So we don't want to constrain you to having sealed bids if there aren't enough vendors interested in submitting sealed bids on certain kinds of things, i.e. a truck. If you can't get 3 sealed bids, where does that leave you? So yeah, if you could make sure that any other language about other purchasing procedures that you think are keeping us efficient, like a bidding consortium or other verbiage, please bring that forward, Mark.
I will. I'll keep working on this.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the last part of this section. So there was a reference to section 3.3. We talked through that. Any other portions of this section 3 that are concerned?
Yes. In section 3.5 on publications in public of notices and so forth, we started to prepare a ordinance for a town meeting to adopt, and it never got off the ground because we ran into COVID. But we need to have a way to publish summaries of ordinances in order to avoid large costs for legal publication. Because if you have to publish the word for word every ordinance in the Chronicle, for example, it gets to be quite expensive if it's a long ordinance.
I
And
thought we did that, Henry.
I don't think we got the, we finally got it done, but if we did, it would be advisable to just put it right in the charter that, summary descriptions can be published.
I think we're good. I'll get the language and make sure it gets properly put into the charter. I do remember putting that through
Okay,
the town
good,
meeting.
good.
I agree. I know about it too.
And then the other thing with respect to that section is it talks about codification. And you've got a major codification.
Can't hear
Henry,
you.
you gotta
You
face the
can't hear you.
microphone.
It talks about codification of past ordinances. And I believe you've got a major codification and reorganization of all the ordinances going on now. So the language should be adopted or adapted to say how any new ordinances is going to fit into the document that you've got being prepared that reorganizes everything. This talks about in second paragraph of 3.5, every ordinance after passage shall be given a serial number and shall be recorded by the town clerk in a manner which shall be properly indexed and available for inspection. Well, we're probably not going to give it serial numbers anymore. They're going to be organized by topic or something. We really need to redescribe how we're codifying our ordinances.
So you feel we don't need to be as detailed in the charter as to how they're organized?
Well, no, I think we just need to say something and say what's right, because you're presently changing the way all the ordinances are numbered and everything else. And that is not in line with what the charter says. The charter says you assign them a number and it's good forever.
We are about to create a new codification of all our ordinances. That's the next thing to
Okay.
go before the Board of Selectmen and then a town meeting, once we can have one.
So for that reason, we ought to just incorporate whatever that process is going to be into the charter here or refer to it. So that it's in sync, because right now it leaves it to the town clerk to develop the system at the start of that second paragraph.
I'll work on that with the town clerk.
Okay.
Can you
That language.
suggest any? Okay, so you'll get back to us, Mark, on that.
Yes.
What about the need to publish in a newspaper? How is that affected by state statute for this type of thing? I know on planning and zoning, one of the issues that we face is, the Chronicle at one time was a 9, 10, 12,000 copies a day publication. Now it's down to 5,000. I don't think it's any longer a significant way to publish something to the public, or is any printed medium significant any longer? How do we take those costs away out of the town legislative process and eliminate the need to publish? We'll always have to subvert to state statute, but I am hoping that we can take something out of here that maybe just references that it'll be published in a way that's in accordance with state statute.
One idea, just a thought off the top of my head. If the town rather, we at the radio station do an automatic announcement, public announcement. I don't know if that qualifies, but it's free.
So who does it go to if you do a public announcement?
Yeah.
It goes to John Tuitt.
there is,
I don't know. I don't know if that qualifies though.
I don't think it does.
there is a state statute that's very specific on this. And it currently allows for you to shorten it by just putting in an abbreviation. But
Right.
I would say that leave it to Mark and to Rich to work this over based on what the ordinance says and what the statute says to make this as town friendly as possible. That's the purpose of my comment, is that that middle paragraph should be revamped to be in sync with what's happening in the town now. What this is not in sync.
Well, let me go a step further than that if I could. Lisa, did you want to say something?
I remember that meeting, and the state did allow us to have just an abbreviated in there referencing the town website or calling the town clerk for a copy of the actual ordinance. And so that was made at a town meeting. I do remember that. And that was changed at the state level, but I still think they require that you publish in the paper something.
So
Yeah,
I would make the point that I would like to see the language in here reference that we just need to comply with this state statute, because there's going to be continuing pressure on the state statute being modified to not
Right.
require any printed notice at some point. And if our minimum standard is complying with the state statute, then we don't have to worry about changing the charter to both be in agreement with the statute and then potentially relax the publishing methods. I know from a planning and zoning standpoint, we spend, $300-400 every time there's a regulation change or there's a special permit issued to publish things that nobody reads.
No one reads.
No, yeah.
But this particular statute requires that you take specific action in order to be able to do a summary. So it does have to go a little bit further than just say, satisfy the state statute, because satisfying the state statute would require it to be published in full. So all I'm saying is, there is a nuance here. Just, wait until you see the language that Rick and Mark come up with. It'll handle it in the best interest of the town, and that's what's important.
Well, again, yeah, I agree. I have that confidence, but I would hope that it gives us the flexibility if the state reduces the needs that we can also have by automatically, because of the verbiage in our charter, go to those relaxed publishing.
Agreed.
Okay, was my point.
And similarly, with respect to emergency ordinances, we really ought to investigate whether we can say something about providing email notice or text notice, because we do have other ways of communicating in the town now about emergencies.
Or you put it on the
All right,
Facebook page too.
I'm confused here. So when we talk about publishing, what does the state statute specifically mean about publishing for any of these things? Does it specify what it means by publishing?
Yes.
A newspaper of substantial circulation within the municipality.
Yeah.
It specifically says a newspaper of substantial
Circulation in the municipality.
It has to be a daily paper,
No,
doesn't it?
No, that just says newspaper of substantial circulation.
Okay,
It doesn't
all right.
specify whether it's a daily paper or even necessarily a newspaper.
No, I mean, a lot of towns have gone to the kind of the weekly free mailer kind of things, just because it goes to every household in town. It has a legal notice section, and it's vastly cheaper.
Okay, you're right.
Mhm.
And there's pressure for that to become not a requirement. A lot of pressure. I mean, ask Mark. I don't know how many times have I asked you, how do we reduce?
The only reason I'm asking these questions is you got to get specific, because publishing could mean anything. And I was wondering what the state of Connecticut, because I know what the state of Florida has said, because but I don't know the publishing requirement, what qualifies as making the public aware.
The
'Cause that's the
newspapers
point.
have good lobbyists.
Hmm?
The newspapers have good lobbyists.
They have very good lobbyists.
Yeah, and they
Do.
want to stay around.
Trying.
Yeah,
It breaks my heart to see what's happened to the Chronicle, because for good or bad, they provide a valuable service to the community, and it's got to get paid for somehow, but
right.
the cost to publish the required notices is many, many times the cost of a commercial advertiser to be in that newspaper. It's just horrific what the square inches cost under the public notice section.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what
Um,
about Mark's newsletter? Could you refer, like, in the Chronicle to the newsletter? I mean, to publish, I mean, now, you can broadcast it to every home.
I don't believe there's a provision for that, and that wouldn't satisfy the state statute. We can provide that summarized printed view, but there's still a requirement for a printed view. That's what we hope to not be always constrained to having to do if state statutes change. Okay. Emergency procedure. Let's go. So about emergency ordinances. So is there a suggestion that we add in here other means of notification, or I haven't.
I would just suggest the same kind of thing you were saying before, to have some kind of inclusiveness to include, or any other method authorized by state statute, so that if there's order state law or something like that, so it could pick up an executive order of the governor or whatever, just to broaden it out. Right, what's here now tracks what the wording is of the current state statute, but again, it may change, so it would be good to say, to just have an escape clause to say, or anything else allowed by state law.
Okay. So as it is now, it says in a newspaper, having a general circulation in the town, or by other means approved for such purposes by any applicable state general statute, and by posting a notice in a public place as soon as possible. Don't you think the current verbiage already covers that?
I'd like to go broader than Connecticut general statute, because what if it's in an executive order of the governor with respect to emergency powers under a pandemic? It wouldn't be covered.
Okay.
So,
So what specific language might we insert here that would cover that? A broad reaching description of other methods of
any applicable state law or regulation.
Okay, so change general statute to state law or regulation.
I guess I could say state law, regulation, or order.
Okay.
Something like that. And we may want to consider that same kind of language wherever we're saying or any applicable state general statute, because we may not want to limit ourselves just to general statutes where we're saying that.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Makes
So
sense to me.
we'll get to that as we get through the balance of the charter. I'm going to scroll down now to, so is that
I was
everything that?
confused by that. I'm sorry to slow it down.
No, don't apologize, Art. We got to discuss everything as much as we need to.
I just need a better explanation. I'm not necessarily disputing it. I was confused by what it was exactly we were discussing as far as emergency ordinance.
Yeah, we were discussing item 3.6 in the
I
second.
see that, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
At the top, the top of page 11, that first paragraph, there's a reference to where we have to publish, and I'm going on the third line, halfway down. In a newspaper having general circulation in the town, or by other means approved for such purposes by any applicable Connecticut general statute, and by posting. So what we're saying is, it isn't just by general statute, it's by state law, regulation, or ordinance, is what Henry suggested to replace
Okay, just in case the governor issues something and therefore gives different, okay, got it.
Yeah, so it encompasses a wider range, and Henry, and I think that encompasses the range of what Henry's suggestion was, and it's well taken.
And do we want to say, and posting a notice on the town website and in a public place as soon as possible? Because a public place says putting it on the bulletin board in the town hall.
How
Or
about in a public forum as opposed to place?
that's a good place. I like that. I like that.
Because that could include Facebook. I mean, a lot of people do read
Exactly.
Facebook.
It could.
It gives us a wide latitude as to how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think we could reasonably describe the bulletin board as you go into town hall as a forum. So that covers that, but it covers a wide range of online options also,
Yes.
including the website, the non-town website online options.
Mhm.
Okay, we're good there.
Yep.
Coordination, anything, oath of officers, anything?
Mhm.
I didn't see any issue there.
I don't know if this is the place to suggest this, but I was thinking that the first selectman should get more money than what they get now to attract more people to consider running for first selectman. I don't know where that goes. This is,
Well, we're probably going to get into that under section 4, and I was going to suggest that we defer to starting on Article 4. I say section 4, Article 4
okay.
at our next meeting, because I'd like to go through the whole article, and I think this is going to be a rather substantial one to discuss.
Okay.
And I love keeping meetings to about an hour. Everyone
I think
agree
we've done
with
a
that?
lot. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I just, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Art?
I've already broken that rule. It's 6 minutes after.
What are you gonna say? So let's move, decide to wind down the meeting. We have really nothing under new business. Anything under, is there anything out there, Mark, that you're aware of under new business?
No.
Okay. Next item is item 7 on the agenda, audience of citizens. Anything anybody would like to bring up to us that isn't, either on the agenda or not? I think that would be you, Ann, if you're still with us.
I'm still here.
Okay.
When you were speaking about purchase of open space and easements, there is a distinction. For instance, when we contribute to the purchase of development rights on a farm, we are not purchasing anything. The Department of Agriculture holds the easement. They purchase. They only require that we contribute to the sum of money. We don't actually hold the easement, nor do we have any say on what the easement says.
So you would want verbiage added to this that would cover town contributions to development rights or other easements that are not necessarily held by the town, but in the town's interest.
Well, it could be for any real estate interest if we're just contributing and somebody else is going to hold title. But I do agree we should cover that in some fashion so it doesn't fall between the cracks. Either accept it out or include it as requiring town meeting approval.
You'd be
Good point,
approving the
Ann.
expenditure anyway.
That will require some thought. For instance, the Trust for Public Land is working towards the purchase of land in Wells Woods, but it'll be the state of Connecticut that owns it. Columbia has contributed some money. So it becomes a little stickier than the way it's written in the ordinance.
You know, and I think we can come up with language that will encompass that without a lot of work, because it could just an encompassing description of town-based expenditures for land or rights purchases as authorized by. I think bringing it up this way, I think we can word craft that to encompass expenditures that aren't held in title by the town.
Well, wouldn't the expenditure itself be subject to the town meeting?
I think what she's saying that is she wants a description for what we can have these expenditures on encompass non-town, very specifically encompass non-town owned rights, or rights is probably the best way to describe it, and not have that precluded by somebody challenging it. Is that what, Ann, am I summarizing what your perspective is?
Well, but there are some contributions that maybe don't have to go to the town meeting. For instance, if we contribute by paying for the survey or the appraisal, does that really have to go to a town meeting when it comes out of open space funds? You see what I'm saying?
Well, if it's above a certain threshold, I think we would always want to have a higher level of review.
Right, well, the Board of Selectmen do, and FIPAC. And what is FIPAC's role here? That's another issue.
Hold off, Ann. We're going to get to that.
Someplace, one of the other articles.
That's
Yeah.
coming.
Near the end.
Yeah, so let's defer more discussion on this point to farther down in the charter, okay? And I've made note of your concerns. You're bringing up some really valid points, and I appreciate that. So we're not going to gloss over these by any means. I share your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Any comments from the commission? Item 8 on the agenda.
No.
Anything from anybody?
Mm-mm.
My only thing is if when you send out the agenda, if you can, like tonight we did 1, 2, and 3. I would have liked to have been able to just concentrate on 1, 2, and 3, just to have an idea of what, I mean, because we're only being given 24 hours to study what we want to go in depth, and I just want to be prepared. So if we can know what we're looking at tonight's meeting, that would have been helpful.
Well, we did get a separate Word document with the agenda on it, or we got a couple of things with larger documents, but I'm not sure how far we're going to get in the next meeting. So I'm more comfortable with, well, Lisa, I'm sorry, just so I'm clear, what is it you're suggesting?
So like, if I had known we were going to be, I thought we were going to be doing like 1 section a night, and we were going to concentrate on 2 and then 3. But so I just an idea of, so for the next meeting, obviously we'll be starting at Article 4. So,
Article 4.
You know, let's put that, if you could put that in, maybe 4 and 5.
You know, I can see us doing 4, 5, and 6 at the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't see us getting into 7, and we may
All right.
not even get through 6. If we're not going to get through a whole section in a meeting, I don't want to start it. I'd rather defer to the next meeting. We're making good progress. I just see us as getting through this rather efficiently. I mean, the discussion that I've heard tonight is, I really appreciate everybody, their perspective, and how learned, you know, we've gotten good input, and literally everybody's been involved with it, and I appreciate that. So yeah, let's assume 4, 5, and 6, possibly not 6 at the next meeting. And Linda,
That's
if you could
helpful.
just record that in the minutes so that we have something for people to easily aim at as they review the minutes. They'll know, hey, we're going to be doing 4, 5, and 6. I think,
Okay.
will that help, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Any other comments from commission members? And then Mark, we're going to push you to get these out just even a day or so earlier, so people have even that much more time to look them over.
Okay.
Thank you. Very good. So I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn.
When's the next meeting?
January 28th.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we have a schedule that we approved. So January 28th, that's a Thursday at 7 p.m.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We have to vote on the adjournment. Everyone in
I'll
favor?
second your adjournment.
Okay, Lisa, all those in favor? Ann?
Bye.
Aye.
That's it, unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Good
Bye, all.
evening. Thanks,
Bye.
Mark. Thanks, Art. Thanks.
Good night,
Henry.
all.
Okay.
Henry,
Aye.
Rich, thanks for joining us.
Sure, take care.
Bye.